Ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news. This literally just happened just moments ago. Donald Trump has won again. Huge victory for Donald Trump, if you can see here. His bond was reduced to $175 million, and I know that is a huge amount still. $175 million is a huge amount, but that is less than half of what it was before. So Letita James and Judge Engoron are they've lost a big battle right here, and this was just moments before, or just hours before this bond was due, and he has 10 days now to post his bond. But let's listen to this, guys. This just happened just moments ago.
Today in New York City, and just now a New York appeals court has agreed to slash the amount of the bond that Donald Trump must post to cover a $454 million civil fraud verdict while he appeals it. So we're going to go from 454 to 175 million. Just 175 million now will be the portion. I say just, it's still a ton of cash.
So from $454 million to $175 million. Now, as much as I know that this lawsuit was a fraud, I only see this as a massive win for Donald Trump. And I like how she put it. I think it was a slip of the tongue when she said it, but she said fraud suit. Fraud suit. Yes, this is what this is. This is a fraud suit against Donald Trump. And we all know, guys, that this was going to go to appeals and Donald Trump is going to win in appeals. I think he will win in appeals. But this is massive because now Letita James can keep her grubby hands off of Trump Tower, off of Mar-a-Lago. And Donald Trump, wow. This guy went all the way to just about the last second. He put his buildings on the line. I 100% expected Letita James to come out and start seizing his properties. Because I think Donald Trump, he played with that a little bit, played with that idea for a little bit because he knows the optics involved in that. He knows that would shock the country. In fact, it would shock the world. It would be the worst thing to happen to New York and New York City for a very long time. But this is the order right here from the New York Appeals Court. And it says, it is ordered that the motion is granted to the extent of stay in enforcement those portions of the judgment ordering disgorgement to the Attorney General of $464,576,230.62 conditioned on defendant's appellate's posting within 10 days of the date of this order and undertaking in the amount of $175 million. That's less than half of the original fine. So I only see this as a win, and it definitely gives Donald Trump a lot more wiggle room because $500 million versus, less than $250 million, that's a huge difference. Permanently barring defendants Weisselberg and McConney from serving in the financial control function of any New York corporation or similar business entity. Barring defendants Donald Trump, Weisselberg, and McConney from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation for 3 years. Barring defendant Donald J. Trump and the corporation's defendants for applying for loans from New York financial institutions for 3 years. And barring defendants Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation in New York for 2 years. The aforesaid stay is conditioned on defendants' appellates perfecting the appeals for the September 2024 terms of this court. The motion is otherwise denied, including to the extent it seeks a stay of enforcement of portions of the judgment, extending and enhancing the role of the monitor and directing the installation of an independent director of compliance. So that is the order, and it's signed by Susana Molina Rojas, clerk of the court. So that's a huge judgment, guys. That is huge for Donald Trump, and this means that his coffers won't be sucked dry, and he still has money to spend on his campaign, and it seems to look like Letita James can get her dirty, nasty fingers off of Trump Tower and his other assets. And I bet she is in her basement, huddled down, crying, and mad as can be because she was just shaking and just so excited to get her dirty communist hands all over his buildings and properties. But not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Letita James, go back to the hole that you belong in. But for some more context, we have the AP News. Court agrees to block collection of Trump's $454 million civil fraud judgment if he puts up $175 million. Wow, I still can't believe this happened. But a New York appeals court on Monday, that's today, agreed to hold off collection of former President Donald Trump's $454 million fraud judgment if he puts up $175 million within 10 days. So he has 10 days to put up this $175 million. And for me, I don't think he's going to have any problems putting this up because $175 million is a drop in the bucket compared to $454 million. I'm sure he will be able to find a company to actually post this bond now because massive difference in numbers. If he does, it will stop the clock on collection and prevent the state, yes, guys, the state, in this case, this lawsuit against Trump, where there were no victims, and none of the banks were victims of any fraud, but the state is claiming victimhood, and this judgment will prevent, if he pays his $175 million, will prevent the state, the communist state of New York, from seizing the presumptive Republican presidential nominee's assets while he appeals. The development came just before New York Attorney General Letita James was expected to initiate efforts to collect the judgment. Yes! She is so mad right now. Letita James is so mad right now. And she's just, oh man, I would love to see her face right about now because she hates this. Her hatred for Donald Trump is just so irrational. And I guarantee you this affected her at an emotional level. I guarantee you. Messages seeking comment were sent to James' office and to Trump's lawyers. I want Letita James to comment on this. I want her to do a rant on a video and put it out there. I would just love to rip that apart. But Trump's lawyers have pleaded for a state appeals court to halt collection, claiming it was a practical impossibility to get an underwriter to sign off on a bond for such a large sum. Yeah, $500 million. The ruling was issued by the state's intermediate appeals court, the appellate division of the state's trial court, where Trump is fighting to overturn a judge's February 16th finding that he lied about his wealth as he grew the real estate empire that launched him to stardom and the presidency. After James won the judgment, she didn't seek to enforce it during a legal timeout for Trump to ask appeals court for a reprieve from paying up. That period ended Monday, though, today. So this literally came in on, what do they call it, the ninth hour? He came in right before the axe was about to chop on Trump. Just right before, just a hair's breadth or whatever. Guys, I always say these idioms wrong, so I just don't. I'm not good at remembering them, okay? Whenever it comes to those types of things, I'm like Joe Biden. All right, sorry. But James, a Democrat, told ABC News last month that if Trump doesn't have the money to pay, she would seek to seize his assets and was prepared to make sure that the judgment is paid. So not only did she say she would seek to seize his assets, she said that she looks at Trump Tower every day, just salivating to see his Trump Tower. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's essentially what she said. She said she looks at Trump Tower every day in hopes that one day her communist hands could be wrapped around it and she would seize it for the communist state of New York. But she didn't detail the process or specify what holding she meant, and her office has declined more recently to discuss its plans. Meanwhile, it has filed notice of the judgment, a technical step toward potentially moving to collect. Yeah, hands off. As Trump arrived Monday at a different New York court for a separate hearing in his criminal hush money case, he didn't respond to a journalist's questions about whether he'd obtained a bond. Earlier Monday, he railed in social media posts against the civil judgment and the possibility that James would seek to enforce it. Yeah. I would be mad too. Come on. Anybody, everybody, any American should be upset about what happened to Donald Trump. I'm sorry. Any American should be uncomfortable about what is happening to Donald Trump because it is unjust. Casting the case as a plot by Democrats, which it is, it very much 100% is. The ex-president asserted that they were trying to take his cash to starve his 2024 campaign. Quote, I had intended to use much of that hard-earned money on running for president. They didn't want me to do that. Election interference, he wrote on his True Social platform, referring to his properties as my babies. Well, come on. You know, I feel like when they use these things in the article, they're trying to make Donald Trump look a certain way. But guys, if you are in property management, property development, real estate, you own properties, those will become your babies. That's, you're investing your life into this property. Your hard-earned work, your hard-earned money, your work, your time, that is your life. And much like children, you develop them throughout your life. And if you have these for decades, they become your babies. I have a family that owns many properties, and they put a lot of time and money into these properties, developing them, making them look nicer, investing into them, keeping them clean and updated and modern so that they would be appealing to someone who might want to buy it or rent it. It's not easy. And people that look at Donald Trump and they like to criticize him for calling his properties his babies. These are people that don't understand what it is to create value and order in a chaotic world. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we could all breathe a sigh of relief over this one. Donald Trump, right now, it looks like he's kind of in the clear. I would assume he has the ability to post this bond. So this one went down to the wire. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I half expected to see visuals in Fox News with cameras pointed at Trump Tower and seeing Letitia James storm up there and put a giant padlock on the front door. But I am denied that visual, sadly. But at the same time, I am relieved. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think of Donald Trump having to only pay $175 million now? I know it's still an outrage. This is a fraud lawsuit, but this is a massive win for him, I think. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.